You touched on something that I spent way too much time on last night.
Yeah,
between texting with people I know around the league, looking at the CBA, this question of what your options are when a player is going to miss a mandatory minicamp. And let's just focus on mandatory minicamp. We could talk about training camp. It's similar issues.
Yeah.
But guys have excused absences all the time. Somebody is excused from one of the other teams because he's getting married. So
they're not going to fine
you can
him.
Excuse the absence.
Yeah.
Now, where it becomes tricky, and I think this is where the Jets got themselves twisted up.
Yeah.
They probably have a lawyer in the building who said, here's the provision in the CBA that says all discipline must be imposed uniformly. It sparked all this. Hey, they have to be careful because if they give him a pass, then they may have to give Hassan Reddick a pass. They may have to give others a pass in the future if they don't fine Aaron Rodgers. But I see it as two different things because the way it's identified in the CBA, it's unexcused absence for mandatory minicamp. So before you even get to the point where you discipline the guy, you have the threshold question of whether or not it's excused or unexcused or inexcused, as Robert Saleh said 4 times, which qualifies him, frankly, for a Saleh-ism. Didn't work on that, EJ. Saleh-ism. He said inexcused 4 times. Dude, it ain't a word. That's all right. That's all right. That's fine. I'm used to it.
You are, very much so.
Maybe he just watches the show too much. I don't know. But he's probably turned it off by now. But there's got to be a way to finesse this. And there's a certain point where you just say, you know what? Maybe we're running the risk that if somebody decides in the future they're going to skip the first day of mandatory minicamp to attend some ayahuasca awareness convention or whatever the frick, very close, whatever the hell it is that Aaron Rodgers decided was more important than being at mandatory minicamp, we'll just deal with it then. We don't need the mess now. We might not be able to fine a guy $16,000 later, but we don't need the mess now. We're just going to say it's excused. We're just going to, thank you, New York Post. They're keeping notes too.
Yeah.
Sorry, Aaron Rodgers. It ain't just me. New York Post must be on the payroll of Big Pharma too. Anybody who dares question the delicate genius is on the payroll of Big Pharma. It can never be anything about him. It's someone else being corrupted. And I'm so sick of that shit from him because that's what we'll hear again. We'll hear it again. All the haters out there. It has nothing to do with me. They're all corrupted. Well, Rupert Murdoch, I guess, has a big check from Woody Johnson of Johnson & Johnson to say these things about Aaron Rodgers. I'm sorry. It's you get to a point where you've had enough.
Well,
I've said before, I've reached my lifetime limit of fireworks. What else have I reached my lifetime limit of? I think I've reached my lifetime limit of bourbon, unfortunately. I thought I'd reach my lifetime limit of steak. I have reached my lifetime limit of Aaron Rodgers bullshit. Football player, fine. I hope he does well. He's fun to watch. All the other stuff, I've had enough.
Yeah, I hear you. I think there's a lot of people that are like that, right? I mean, you know me. I'm fanboy to the utmost extent when it comes to Aaron Rodgers. You know, I argue with people all the time that in his prime, I think he might be the greatest player I've ever seen in my life, right? I hear you there, but I'm also going to join you in going, it's a little much. It's a little much, and most of football thinks that too. It's not, just me and you and, other people on other sports networks talking about it. I think everybody's a little like, man, what is he doing? What's going on, right? And, man, he seems distracted or wants to talk about other things and just, make headlines everywhere but on the field like we were talking about. And back to the contract thing and all of that and – the Hassan Reddick and, they're not setting any precedents if they unexcused first day of mandatory minicamp. They're not. It's Aaron Rodgers. I know. I almost said it. You got me. It's in my head now. They're not. They're like nobody would be if he had something important and the team was like, he's got to go. We're gonna make it unexcused. Nobody's gonna go knock on the door of Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh and be like, "What? Why did you make that? Why did you make that? Unexcused? That's ridiculous." Or Aaron Rodgers. Nobody's gonna do that. Come on.
You mean excused?
Or excused? Yes, excuse.
Why did you excuse it? Yeah, I don't want to confuse anybody.
Thank you. You're right. I'm speaking idiot this morning and trying to straighten it out as we go here. Okay. But the Hassan Reddick situation, now that's different. That's a different one because it's a contract issue and we know what that is about. So, again, the locker room would understand that, right? And that might be something that they might try to peddle, and that's, hey, it's precedence and all that. But, like, come on, if they do, that's just fluff and BS. There's no way. So I don't understand that. And then what I started off with, right? I mean, the New York Post, bring it up again. Why? Why do that? Why do that to yourself in New York, right? They've been loving you. Do the right thing. They've been throwing you all these softball questions. Florio's going crazy, right? This is the kind of stuff, though, Mike, that's going to get the New York media in a frenzy to start being a little tougher on him a little bit. It is, because it's again, the Jet fans, they're going to be annoyed that he's not there. He hasn't done anything for the football team yet. He's had a lot of talk off the field. He's talked about how the team needs to be when they're in football and how it's, should go down and the approach and all that. And you make all those State of the Union addresses, and then you're not there for one of the biggest days of the offseason, maybe the two biggest days. Why give the New York fan base, the Post, the Daily News, everybody the bullets to go after you now? And that's what I just don't understand. For a really intelligent guy, I don't understand why he'd put himself in that position and not be able to see that this could happen, if you don't show up for this mandatory minicamp.
And he's got cause to be upset with the Jets for how they handled it. That's the thing. You're already dealing with somebody who is super sensitive, who is always looking to blame someone else. And at a time when he's bearing the brunt of this, he's got to be thinking at some level, if he is as smart as he claims to be. Sometimes I wonder. But on this point, I'd like to think he's smart enough to say, what are the Jets doing here? They say they support me. Why didn't they excuse this absence and avoid all of it? Think of how simple it would have been. Aaron's not here. It's an excused absence. End of story. It's
that's what makes me think it's something they don't love.
Story.
That's what makes me think they're like, what? You're going to, what? That's what makes me think that, Mike.
But here's where dysfunctional teams doing dysfunctional things comes to a head. And I'm always quick to defend lawyers because there are so many people out there who don't like lawyers because the lawyers keep them from doing the things they want to do. That's the main reason. Corporate America, executives. I've been in meetings with, the plant manager at one of the firm's clients when I was practicing, and you try to tell them what they need to do, and they eventually get pissed. You're trying to tell them what they need to do. You're trying to protect them from liability, and they get pissed. They don't want to hear it. They want to do what they want to do. This is an example, I think, of listening too much to the lawyers, because the way that I delved into this last night and talked to people and looked at the CBA, my guess is somebody in there who is in position to advise the Jets got on this soapbox about the precedent you set if you excuse Aaron, and we can't excuse this because then we have to excuse whoever next year wants to stay away for some BS reason that's important to him but really is a bunch of crap, and we have to, if we excuse it for Aaron, we're going to have this. That's where somebody has to say, I don't care, because what matters is now. And the last thing we need now is to create an unnecessary fight or the perception of one with the most important employee in the entire organization. So we're going to excuse it. And if somebody wants to file a grievance a year from now because we wouldn't let him skip mandatory minicamp because he wanted to go to a Batman convention or whatever it is that's important to him that isn't important to us, we'll deal with it then. But thank you, Mr. Lawyer, or Ms. Lawyer, as the case may be, for making your point. Now sit down and shut up. We're going to make the decision about what's right for the business. And what's right for the business is not having some massive distraction created by this perception that we aren't on the same page with our quarterback.
Yeah, well, it gets everybody off page with the quarterback. Everybody. It makes the Jets fans and the Jets fan base wonder, as we see with the New York Post and all that. Like, what's going on? Is he all the way in on this? Man, it was the Kennedy thing. It's the conspiracies like you talked about. Now, man, it's a mini camp, and it's a do or die year. I mean, he was just on TV 2 months ago saying, we're all out of here if we don't do better this year. That's the approach. I mean, again, that's where he's just not giving himself any leeway, any extra savings in the bank for when things might not go good during the season, which we know just about every team goes through that part of the year where then people open up the vault. Well, hey, maybe if you weren't doing this in the offseason, maybe if you showed up at this mandatory camp, maybe if you weren't here doing this and talking about that. That's where he's doing himself no favors. He's shooting himself in the foot with this one in New York, and I don't understand that. It's okay. Hey, if he came here last year and he played and he was one of the top quarterbacks in football and the Jets went to the playoffs and things were good and all on the up and up, okay, then it's all different. And there was no leaks in the building and you weren't talking and saying all this stuff to McAfee and everybody else. Then, okay, you missed day one of the mandatory minicamp. Nobody's going to give a crap. But they give a crap right now because they traded away picks from you. You played 4 plays, right? And you've caused some issues and headaches for everybody that's surrounded the Jets. And that's what I'm shocked that he's done this to himself. I really am.
I agree with you completely.
But here's the other thing, Mike.
Jets fan.
My other thing, too. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to, but this is just the last piece of the pie. Okay, because we talked about it we talked about it with Lamar, right? I mean, who are you competing against? Mahomes is out there. Josh Allen, I don't hear anything about any of those guys missing anything. Wait, Joe Burrow's out there. He's there. He's right there now. He's working. I mean, the people you're competing against right now are obsessive. Right? They're all like, we got to get Mahomes. We got to get Mahomes. We got to get Mahomes. And that's where I'm just, again, shocked by it all.
So when Lamar Jackson missed enough voluntary offseason workouts to forfeit his $750,000 bonus, and you offered that if he would buy you a $350,000 Rolls Royce, you would just drive him back and forth to the workouts. Given that Aaron Rodgers was fined $16,953 for yesterday, are you offering to drive him back and forth to the office if he would buy you, what would it be, like a used Yugo for $16,953?
Yeah, the hell with that.
I don't know what you can get for $16,953.
You're right. I'm going to bring my own car for that one. Just give me the cash and I'll have fun with it. All right? My car is better than it. So I'll bring my own car for that. Just give me the cash and I'll go out and have some fun and do that way. That's what I'll do this time around.
As I mentioned, I've asked the Jets if he'll be there today. If he's not, then the full fine is $50,000. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.